I slowed down my progress on purpose, and honestly it's the smartest thing I've done for my training in years. I'm the kind of person who loves to push as hard as I can every single workout. One of my rules was to add at least 1 repetition to each exercise every single week, no matter what, until I kept getting injured. And it wasn't about bad form. It also had nothing to do with warm-ups. It was something else, something nobody ever warned me about. And here's the weird part. Every time I got injured, I was actually making the best progress of my life. Things were going great. Then out of nowhere, boom, injured for months. It took me years to figure out what was actually happening because I thought I was just unlucky. So in this video, I'm gonna break down what was actually going on and the 4 simple rules I follow now to keep getting stronger without messing myself up. I also made a simple guide with all the rules and some pro tips. It's completely free and I don't even ask for your email. There's a link in the description if you want it. So here's how it goes. A few years ago, I was training for the Iron Cross, which is this super advanced skill on rings. And I went way too hard, way too fast. I was progressing every single week. I felt like a machine. Until one day, my shoulder just gave up on me. I woke up with huge pain and I was out of training for half a year. I was pissed, but I thought I was just unlucky. So I healed up and went right back to pushing hard. And guess what happened a year later? Same thing, but with a different exercise. This pattern kept repeating for years. I would feel amazing, progress fast, then boom, injured again. And every single time I told myself the same things. I was just unlucky. I just need to warm up better the next time. Need to be more careful. But it kept happening over and over again until the last injury. That's when I finally stopped being stubborn. I sat down and actually asked myself the real question. Why does this keep happening to me? I did the research and here's what I found. Your muscles and your tendons adapt at completely different speeds. This is the part nobody ever told me. Think of your body like a house you are building. Your muscles are the walls. Your tendons are the foundation. The walls can go up in a few days. You just stack them up and it looks like a house. But the foundation, that concrete, needs weeks to fully cure. So if the foundation isn't ready yet and you just keep piling walls and weight on top, at some point the foundation just starts to crack. And one day the entire house shifts or collapses. This is exactly what happens in your body. When you progress too fast, your muscles adapt in weeks, which is cool. But your tendons need months to catch up. And here's what makes it so dangerous. Your muscles tell you when you are tired, right? They get sore, they burn, and they recover. But tendons, they don't really do that. They are quiet. They don't get sore like your muscles, so everything feels fine. Your muscles feel strong, recovery is fast, you are ready for more. And you keep stacking more and more load on top, until the foundation just cannot hold it anymore because it didn't adapt yet. The tendon gives up, it slightly tears, and you are done. Even if you did everything else right, you just built the walls before the foundation could handle them. So let me show you what I do now to avoid that. Here's the first rule, and this is the biggest one. Just slow down how fast you progress. I used to add at least 1 rep to every exercise every single week, no matter what. This was one of my strict rules. And on paper, it looks great. The progress graph always looked something like this, which is what we like to see, right? That's great for your muscles and ego, but not so great for your tendons. So here's what I do now. I only add 1 rep every 2 or 3 weeks. Sometimes I add 1 rep 2 weeks in a row, but never more than that. There's a cycle I follow where I push my reps to a certain target, depending on the exercise, and then I drop to a harder variation of the same exercise and start the cycle again. That's the system we run inside the Warrior Society. To give you an idea, before I would hit my rep targets in about 2 months or so, now it takes me about 4 months. The old me would think it's way too slow, but trust me, it's not. Adding 1 rep per week looks faster, but when you get injured every few months because of that, you not only stop progressing, you actually go backwards. Adding 1 rep every 2 or 3 weeks is much slower on paper, but if you never get injured, you never have to stop training. So you develop this perfect consistency, and after a year, you are stronger because you actually trained the whole year, not just half of it. Now, the first rule is the biggest one, but let's be real. Sometimes life happens and you still push too hard. And when you do, your body starts sending you warning signs. Most people miss them completely. So let's talk about the rule number 2. You need to learn to spot the warning signs. Because before the tendon actually tears, it always gives you some kind of signal first. And most of the time, we just ignore them because they don't feel like a real injury. They feel more like a small discomfort, small annoyance. So here are the 4 signs I'm watching out for now. First, pain at the start of the workout that fades up as you warm up. So you start your first set and feel a small pinch or ache, then after a few reps, it's gone. This isn't normal. Second, pain after the workout, not during. During training, everything feels fine, but after a few hours later, or even the next day, it feels weird or hurts. Third, morning stiffness in a joint. So you wake up and a joint feels stiff for a few minutes. That's probably your tendon telling you it didn't fully recover yet. Fourth, the same spot hurting 2 or 3 workouts in a row. If you feel the same small pain in the same spot over and over again, this is a pattern. And the pattern usually turns into a full injury if you ignore it. Now, how do you tell this apart from normal muscle soreness? So muscle soreness is broad. It kind of spreads across the entire muscle. But tendon pain is sharp. It's pinpoint. It's always at the same tiny spot. If you can pinpoint to it with one finger, it's probably your tendon. So what do you do when you notice any of these signs? Just lower the intensity of the exercise that's bothering you. Depending on what you do, you can either lower the weight, drop to an easier variation of the same movement pattern, or cut your reps in half for 1 or 2 weeks. Just give your tendons a chance to chill out before it becomes a long-term problem. Catching the early sign means 1 or 2 weeks of lighter training, but ignoring it means 3 to 6 months of not training at all. Rule number 3 is another way of preventing most of this in the first place. Warm up your tendons, not only your muscles, because most people warm up completely wrong. They do a few dynamic stretches, maybe some arm circles, then jump into the first heavy set. Their muscles feel ready, but the tendons are still cold, and cold tendons tear easily. Here's why. Your muscles have a lot of blood flowing through them, even at rest, so they warm up fast. Tendons, they are different. They have almost no blood supply. That's why they heal so slowly. And that's also why they need more warm-up than your muscles. So what I do now is simple. Before any heavy set, I do a high rep set of light variation of the same movement pattern. So for pull-ups, that could be something like 20 scapular pulls. For dips, something like 20 high incline push-ups. For pistol squats, regular squats. So similar exercise, but lower intensity. What matters is the reps, because high reps with low intensity is what pumps blood into your tendons. That's what makes you ready for hard work. This takes maybe 5 extra minutes per workout, but it completely changes how your joints feel. Now you can progress slow, spot every warning sign and warm up perfectly, but there is one more thing that quietly destroys tendons over time, and almost nobody does it on purpose, which brings us to rule number 4. Deload when your body asks for it. Not on schedule. Most programs tell you to deload every 4 to 6 weeks, no matter how you feel. And I used to do that too. Some weeks I felt great, but I deloaded anyway because the calendar said so. Other weeks I felt completely fried, but I pushed through because it wasn't a deload week yet. Both approaches are wrong because your body doesn't follow a calendar. Some training blocks you push for 8 weeks straight and feel fine. Other blocks you might need a break after just 3. It depends on your sleep, stress, work, nutrition, family, everything. So instead of following a schedule, I just watch for signs. Here's what tells me it's time to deload. My joints feel achy all the time, not just during the workout. My sleep starts getting worse for no reason whatsoever. I lose motivation to train even for exercises I normally love. Or the small warning signs from the second rule start showing up. When 2 or more of those stack up for 2 weeks, that's when I deload. Now you might be wondering what a deload actually is. It's basically like a planned period where we focus on recovery. It's not training off. You still show up to your training. You just cut the volume and intensity in half. So instead of doing, let's say, 4 sets, do 2 sets. And instead of doing your hardest exercise variation, do an easier one. Or cut the weight in half. Usually 1 or 2 weeks are enough. And don't worry about losing gains. You will not lose muscle in 1 or 2 weeks of lighter training. What you lose is fatigue. Because every time you train, you build 2 things: fitness and fatigue. Performance is fitness minus fatigue. A deload basically drops the fatigue, but keeps the fitness. That's why you come back stronger. The gains were always there. They were just hidden under fatigue. So when the fatigue is gone, performance comes out of the closet. If you're a member of the Warrior Society, there is a full deload guide in the classroom. And if you are not a member yet, Warrior Society is my school community where we train simple, time-efficient calisthenics at home. Inside, you get direct access to me, programs to follow, and the brotherhood that keeps you accountable. If that sounds like something you want to be a part of, there is a link in the description, and I meet you inside.